I didn't necessarily mean to wait this long to watch Beetlejuice, but I was very, very nervous to watch it long before the sequel was announced. I had said that I didn't really want a sequel, largely because the first film is so perfect. And having now watched it, I shouldn't have worried. And I trust Tim Burton. I know everything he touches turns to gold. And I shouldn't have been nervous because it's pretty brilliant. There will be some spoilers in this. Usually when I discuss films, I don't give spoilers for the most part, or I'll do spoilers at the very end. I'm not going to spoil ultimately what happens in this, but there will be a few things that I'm going to mention that may be small spoilers, so I'm just going to say spoilers to be on the safe side. This was released in 2024. It's directed, of course, by the wonderful Tim Burton, and it's written by Alfred Gough and Miles Miller. And we have a brilliant team. We have costumes by Colleen Atwood. Danny Elfman does the music. The cast is amazing. We have Danny DeVito in it a little bit. Of course, we have the wonderful Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton and Catherine O'Hara. We have Jenna Ortega. And it's just incredible. Everything about the cast and the crew, absolutely fantastic. And my fear went away pretty quickly in the first scene. I think it was the first scene when Lydia Deetz's full name was mentioned. I got chills when we hear her full name for the first time. It was an absolutely beautiful experience, and from that point on, I knew I didn't have to worry. Lydia's father has died, so this brings together Lydia and Delia, Catherine O'Hara, and Astrid, Jenna Ortega. Of course, we have Winona Ryder as the wonderful Lydia Deetz. And I love the fact that Astrid, Lydia's daughter, is not a carbon copy of her, based purely on the marketing that I'd seen in the trailer. It just seemed like Astrid was going to be a mini Lydia, but actually that's not the case at all. She's very much her own person, so I'm really glad that they took that route rather than just making Astrid a 21st century teenage Lydia. So I think that was a really, really great decision. And we learned quite quickly that Beetlejuice is working in the afterlife, and he came into it, I'd say, pretty quickly, and then there's a period of time when he's not in it for a while, and it takes a long time for him to become part of the main narrative, which is not really a complaint, but certainly room for improvement. I think he could have been brought in a little bit more quickly, but his initial appearance is quite early on, so I was quite happy with that. And then we get our first, I guess, real nod to the first film when they're at the funeral for Lydia's father, and the choir are singing Dale, which I found to be very, very amusing. And it was a nice little touch while not keeping the exact same song in, so I thought that was nice as well. Astrid meets a boy called Jeremy, played by Arthur Conti, and I don't think I'll say anything else that would be spoilery from this point on. Actually, no, that's not true. There are a couple of things I want to mention, so I will continue to say a spoiler warning from now, but I won't go into too much more detail about the specifics. Something happens with Jeremy and Astrid that ultimately brings Beetlejuice fully into the main narrative, and I love him so much. Michael Keaton is amazing. The costume still looks absolutely fantastic, and it's so much fun. And the rest of the narrative, I'd say it took about it. It's not really a complaint as such because I was thoroughly enjoying the entire experience. But if I were to think of this more critically, I realise I'm biased because I do worship the ground Tim Burton walks on. But if I think a little bit more critically, I will say that it felt like the first 50 minutes of the film were setting things up. And then the bulk of the second half was where most of the action it was, most of the interesting aspects were in that part. So it did take quite a long time to get anywhere significant, but I was enjoying the experience, so I can't really complain. But also, if somebody were to say it's really slow for the first half of the film, if you're not obsessed with Beetlejuice in general, then there might not be as much in that first half that's entertaining, and I'm absolutely willing to admit that. But once we get through to the second half and things become a little bit darker and more suspenseful, it's beautiful. Visually, it is stunning. The whole film is fun, it's creative. We have brilliant set designs. I got chills on multiple occasions, as I mentioned, when they first mentioned Lydia Deetz's first name. And also when, and this is a spoiler, when she summoned Beetlejuice by saying his name 3 times, Beetlejuice, 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 and then seeing her in the red dress, which I think I might have seen in previews, Possibly. Did I know that was going to happen? I feel like I must have done because it didn't come as a surprise, but I could be making that up. But either way, she looked absolutely incredible, and it was such a lovely touch. And I won't say what happens with that scene when she's in the red dress, but it's brilliantly executed. Very, very well done. Sure, Beetlejuice is not as good as Beetlejuice, but I don't think anybody expected it to be. It still feels like a Tim Burton film, and that's all I wanted. And I love Lydia Deetz. I've always loved Lydia Deetz, and I don't think anything could change that. Do I love Beetlejuice? I'd say I really liked it. And, of course, if you've seen the first film and enjoyed it, then I'd say give the sequel a chance. I was very nervous, but I took the plunge, and I don't regret it. Beetlejuice, all things considered, is not a bad sequel. It's a really enjoyable film. I think if a sequel had to happen, all of the right decisions were made, and honestly, I shouldn't have expected anything less from Burton. And if you've been curious about the film, if like me you've been a little bit cautious, a little bit nervous to proceed with it, take the plunge, dive right in. I think you'll really enjoy it. Beetlejuice is a pretty good film.